Yeah, that was basically it.
Yeah, but
he kicked me out of LA.
I sat next to this guy covering Lakers games for 6 years, so this is a little bit of a throwback Wednesday for us.
Who was the lead on We Want Tacos? Was there a lead?
Oh, Mark, I made him do all the work.
Yeah.
Well, Bill came up with
You were
the
the
name.
star, but he had to.
Bill came up with the name,
Yeah.
so he carried it with that.
I always thought that
with
was
the
a great
marketing.
name. You guys are.
And you're one of the best guests, the
Thank
best
you.
guest.
I think you really knows how.
Might have been the only guest.
I'm sure the Kamenetskis were on there 17 times.
Hey,
All right.
Brandon Ingram was a guest too. I mean, we can't short
BI,
shrift.
Tiny Dog.
But you were the best guest.
I appreciate that. Mark, that's why you're always one of my favorites here. All right, let's get to it, guys. We have kind of have a lot to talk about for a Wednesday during the All-Star break. LeBron James remains perfect as All-Star captain, and he took it into his own hands with his team up 161-160. LeBron hit a turnaround fadeaway over Zach LaVine, give Team Braun their 5th straight victory in All-Star game competition. And best of all, he did it in front of his hometown fans in Cleveland, Ohio. After the game, LeBron spoke on the whole experience of All-Star weekend back home.
I couldn't have dreamt it. I could not have dreamed of that moment any better than the actuality that just happened. For me to be back here, you know, like I keep staying 35 minutes south of where I grew up here in Akron, Ohio, to hit the game winner in the All-Star game where me and my guys back in the back, we, you know, used to watch the All-Star game. And, you know, I remember 25 years ago, we was 12, 11, wishing that we had the opportunity or the means to come up to Cleveland and see some of the greatest basketball players of all time because they inspired us so much. And for me to be here today, for my best friends, to be here for my wife and my kids and my family, my mom, and so many people that seen me grow from really a young toddler to who I am today. It was I couldn't picture that moment any better.
I mean, like a Hollywood ending right there. He returns to Cleveland for the All-Star game and hits the game winner. Bill, how special was that?
It was incredibly special, and you knew when the All-Star game was in Cleveland, year 19 for LeBron James, you anticipated that he was going to have something special. Figured he was going to be going for that All-Star MVP. Had a chance before Steph.
Yeah, but 16 threes. Is that what that?
Certainly, I mean, that kind of sealed it. But I mean, LeBron was, you know, a huge part of the story. Obviously, the game winner. Very fitting for him to go back to his home native land of Northeast Ohio and not only put on a show, but slam the door.
Yeah, and you also can't help but wonder, is that game winner a foreshadowing of him lighting up the Cavaliers crowd?
Were you there? Were you there, right? You were there?
I was there.
How was the vibe in the arena?
Here was the vibe. So many cheers for LeBron, so many boos for Steph Curry until he started making threes. And all of a sudden,
they were in.
They turned cheers. And then the biggest reception was when Michael Jordan went center stage, and then a bittersweet moment when they announced Kobe Bryant among the top 75. But a lot of emotions for different reasons.
Did you want to jump in?
I was just going to say, we talk about LeBron in Cleveland and how, you know, big moments seem to happen for him in Cleveland. If you do the math on him catching Karl Malone, if you tease out his averages to that game later in March, there is a chance that LeBron could move to number 2 on the all-time scoring list back in Cleveland, which would be very fitting for him as well.
Now, if he eventually passes Kareem and he does it in Cleveland, then we know that there's something going on out
forces
there.
at play. Yeah.
And you're going to write an article on it. There's no question about that. Team LeBron, 5-0 in All-Star games. Do you think it matters to him?
I think anything that helps with the legacy and you know, I think they're all bricks in the house of LeBron, right? I think LeBron cares primarily about championships. I think he cares about MVPs. I think he cares about things that will last, right? Like being the all-time scoring leader, that is a record that's going to last for a long time. And, you know, maybe not forever, not with the way, you know, guys are scoring now, but like that is something that, you know, it's breaking something that has lasted for a long time. It's obviously super prominent. I don't know that 5-0 as team captain is quite in that stratosphere, but every little thing that he can hold up to say this is an example of my greatness absolutely matters.
But I'll say this, Mark. 5-0 in All-Star games, I know what I would do. I'd be talking that smack the whole time. I mean, to all your peers, to your buddies.
They're toppings to the sundae, right? So it's nice. But here's the thing, and I know that we're going to get into this season. LeBron James might be an amazing GM for all-star performances.
You're saying you might not
selecting teams, but when it comes to basketball, leaves a lot to be desired.
But he is great as a captain.
That's true.
Of the All-Star games. All right, well, let's get into it. LeBron with this quote on a possible reunion in Cleveland said this during All-Star weekend to Jason Lloyd of The Athletic. The door's not closed on that. I'm not saying I'm coming back and playing. I don't know. I don't know what my future holds. I don't even know when I'm free.
Don't believe that.
LeBron to Cleveland. Bill, Jason Lloyd, who works with you at The Athletic, got this exclusive. What are your thoughts?
I think LeBron always knows what he's doing, and he knows what pressure points to push. He knew that going back to Cleveland for the All-Star game, this was going to be a question. The Cavaliers have a fun, dynamic team that is way ahead of schedule, and it looks like a team that could win a playoff series in the East, soon to be a contender in that conference. Several young star caliber players. It's natural to think, hey, LeBron did this once before when he went back to Cleveland. Once the foundation was there, could he do it again? And for him to say the door is not closed is not him saying, yeah, I'm doing it. But at the very least, to me, it tells a Lakers team that has kind of squandered 3 of the 4 years they've had LeBron James. We need to be better. Otherwise, there are some outs for him to go elsewhere.
He's also missed a lot of games during that time because of injury. So has his running mate Anthony Davis.
Sure. I mean, it's all part of the same of the same tapestry. But at the end of the day, LeBron James went to 9 straight finals, gets to the Lakers, and in his first 3 years doesn't win a playoff series in 2 of those years, and this year is kind of looking on pace for that a similar result.
I'm going to ask you this, Mark. He's under contract for another year. It'll be Bronny's senior year in high school at Sierra Canyon. I don't think he intends to leave at that point. Then Bronny will be a year in college, or if he wants to go to the G League. So that's his free agent year. He could do a number of things he could do, but he's going to be turning 39 at that point. Is this being overblown? Are people overreacting, whether it's fans or national media? Should it be such a big story?
Oh, it should be a big story because
Why?
It's LeBron James, number one. Number two, to what Bill has written and others, he is very calculated with what his messages are.
Yeah.
So it's not us media types just being Da Vinci Code and reading the tea leaves. These things are real, and I think that the intended message is his dissatisfaction with the front office. Now, you made some excellent points about, hey, well, the injuries. The other subplot of this is that he has his fingerprints all over the roster of this year, most notably with Russell Westbrook. And while, maybe he and other players wish that the Lakers were able to make trade deadline moves, they didn't really have many assets to do that. And, you don't trade Russell Westbrook to get John Wall for a first-round pick, whatever. But I think objectively, it's hard to think how much of a difference maker he would be dramatically compared to Westbrook with all his warts and all, and also squandering, future flexibility for next offseason.
That's a great point. But also, LeBron has to be mad about the trade deadline. If he's mad about the season, he has to be able to point at something. He can point to the trade deadline because that's the one that his fingerprints aren't on that.
Yeah.
But to Mark's point about Russell Westbrook and kind of the offseason roster shaping, LeBron was really involved with that. So if he was mad, if he keeps peeling back the layers, he's going to have to admit that he was culpable for this roster as well. But the trade deadline he can point to and say that was a mistake, and that doesn't blow back on him.
I'm just going to say that some damn good basketball, he told The Athletic. And I actually agree with him. He's playing damn good basketball. And it's funny, he's on the 9th place team in the West, but he still runs this league. When he talks and he has quotes, it captures the basketball world on Twitter and every social media outlet. Should there be concern over LeBron talking about his future? I mean, he's going to be asked, right, Mark?
Oh, without a doubt, especially in a setting like the All-Star game. And I think, as we discussed, this is a message to the front office that assuming that they don't reach the championship stage this second half of the season, that there needs to be more moves made this offseason to improve the roster for next year. And maybe there's some easier paths to do that because they have a lot of guys on veteran minimum deals that are going to be free agents. But the reality is they still don't have a lot of assets to attract people. And Russell Westbrook's contract is, I think, untradeable. So it's easier said than done.
Mark's good at his job.
So what I wrote today in The Athletic was that LeBron James sent a message that really hasn't existed for his first 4 years with the Lakers, which is that the gift of his presence is not necessarily without an expiration date. And you go back to when the Lakers signed him, he gave them a 4-year contract, something he had not given in Cleveland, where he was signing 1-year deals every year to keep the pressure on the front office. 4-year contract. I think we all looked at that as him coming to L.A. to finish his career. I don't know if anybody thought in year 4, now he signed an extension, so he's not up yet, but if in year 4 he would still be playing like this. He looks like he did 4 years ago, Cleveland, LeBron,
really
all that. He's been sensational. And that gives him leverage to say, hey, I'm still playing several more years. And that you are not guaranteed to be the host of those years.
Bill, I know you can't speak for LeBron, but is there something he wants to see from this front office in the offseason, do you think?
It's hard because they gave him what he wanted last offseason.
Yeah.
Right? Like they were in alignment. Like Rob Pelinka talks about alignment at the trade deadline, and LeBron obviously blew that out of the water. But they were in alignment last summer when LeBron wanted to go get Russell Westbrook, and Rob Pelinka pulled the slapped the button on that deal and made it happen. So to me, he got what he wanted a year ago. It just hasn't worked. So I think this year it's going to have to be similar, buy-in, similar agreement. And, I remain interested in seeing what LeBron's commitment to Rob Pelinka as GM is. What's his belief that Rob Pelinka can build the kind of roster he needs to contend at age 38?
Yeah, and the interesting wrinkles with this is right now, LeBron is speaking in a position of leverage. He's been playing out of his mind, and the Lakers aren't. And even with his dissatisfaction right now, like Phil Handy was telling me the other day that even with whatever's going on, he's fully committed with what he has. He's going to make the best of it. This isn't going to be like James Harden with the Nets, where he's just checking out, right? So he's playing out of his mind the rest of this season, but we don't know what LeBron is going to be looking like when his contract is over. He is 37, 19th season. I know the old adage, you don't bet against LeBron, but Father Time has a way of creeping up without any announcement at all.
Just say it. Father Time is
undefeated.
Undefeated.
Everyone loves to say it. By the way, if there wasn't enough intrigue around LeBron, how about this? There's another quote, and this is about playing with his son, Bronny. My last year will be played with my son. Wherever Bronny is at, that's where I'll be. I would do whatever it takes to play with my son for 1 year. It's not about the money at that point. We've heard that before, but this was LeBron basically saying this is what's happening. The positive here is that LeBron is saying he's playing for at least 3 more seasons. Because remember, Bronny's not eligible until 2024. That's a long way off, guys. You had mentioned the age. He'll be turning almost 40. But that would be pretty cool to see, in my opinion. That'd be awesome for also Bronny to make it to the NBA, get drafted, and LeBron play with him. I mean, right?
I mean, there's, of course.
Why is everyone upset about that? Or not upset, but like, oh my gosh, he's going to do this.
I don't know if anybody's upset.
Not upset, but like panicking.
I think there's plenty of ways of looking at it, whether it's good for Bronny to have his dad there when he gets to the NBA, and whether Bronny would be evaluated on his NBA merit as opposed to, we're going to use a draft pick on him that we wouldn't otherwise use on him because we have this stated guarantee that we can now get LeBron James on a minimum contract.
Can I send you back to your childhood? Maybe you'll remember this moment. Ken Griffey Sr.
That was amazing. I grew up in the Northwest.
Griffey Jr. And Ken Griffey Sr. made that catch. And who was pumping his fist? His son.
Back-to-back
Imagine
homers.
LeBron dunking, because he will be dunking at 40. And Bronny Jr.
How about
throwing in the lob?
Back in my area with the Orioles, Cal Ripken Sr. managing his son. Both of them.
Billy Ripken was there, yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, it's you're so right. No, I mean, listen, it would be really cool to watch LeBron play with his son. There's no question. I mean, there are questions, obviously, but where is that? Could it possibly be with the Lakers? Is it with the Oklahoma City Thunder? Is it with the Knicks? Is it with the G League Ignite? Like, we don't know where. I'm just saying.
That'd be incredible.
Let's just say, maybe it's in 2023. LeBron's a free agent. Bronny foregoes college, goes straight to the G League Ignite. LeBron pulls some strings behind the scenes. He gets G League stats to count toward NBA scoring total, so he's just racking up 60 points a night in the G League.
Crazy, but I'll tell you right now, there'll be 18-505 at the Ignite games.
I mean, it's true.
Be amazing.
And he'd play with his son.
All right. Coming up on Access, LeBron James
about it, LeBron.
in his 18th All-Star game had plenty of time to rank who you guys think are the most intriguing teams from 5 to 1. Bill, I'm starting with you at 5, and I'm always intrigued to see your list. We don't always come out the same, so I'm very intrigued.
So I have a team that I think is a little bit of a sleeper in the Western Conference. I have the Denver Nuggets. Okay. Obviously have the reigning MVP, potentially this year's MVP in Nikola Jokic, and waiting to see when and if Jamal Murray comes back. And if he gets back and is able to contribute.
When is he supposed to come back?
I saw one report that it could be in March, it could be a little bit later, but this is a team that looks to be clear of the play-in. If they can get Jamal Murray back and playing at a high level, that is a huge difference maker. You're talking about an all-star caliber guard, but that's a lot to ask coming off that injury.
I mean, you're a 1 and 2 seed, 3 seed. You don't want to see them early, right? Scary team.
No question, especially a young team like, let's say, the Memphis Grizzlies that are kind of still getting their feet wet as a contender. That could be iffy.
So good, Bill.
Thanks, appreciate you.
Mark.
Hey, I'm like LeBron James. I'm intrigued with the Cleveland Cavaliers.
I mean, I'm hearing they're really good. Our cameraman, Brett.
Yeah, they're kind of a big deal.
Yeah. No, they're excited.
They've exceeded expectations. They thought they were going to be a lottery team. I think that they're in the picture of being a contending team because of just how well developed they've been, and JB Bickerstaff has been an amazing coach.
They're falling 1 through 5 right now, right? They could be anywhere in that.
They technically could, and the Brooklyn Nets could be a hot mess, or they could not. There is a window for them to climb up. So you wonder, okay, can they make that leap of just between a nice, fun playoff team versus an actual serious contender?
Like the Suns last year, maybe win a couple rounds. All right, let's go, Bill. What do you got for
Number 4, I got the Golden State Warriors. Klay Thompson has been rounding into form after missing so much time. If he continues to play at get back to his peak level, Draymond Green's going to get healthy. Chance to lock up the 1 seed in the West as Phoenix is going to be without Chris Paul for a while. What does Golden State do with sort of these last few weeks of the season?
They're pretty good.
They're great.
They're
intriguing.
They're going to be right there. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I'm intrigued with the Phoenix Suns with what Bill was mentioning, Chris Paul being out the next few weeks. How do they hold the fort down? And look, this is the first time they're going to be losing Chris Paul for an extended period of time this season, but they've had a good history this season of being able to absorb other players' absences. Devin Booker, for example, was out for a handful of games, and DeAndre Ayton. And it might be too early to say because they haven't won a championship, but when you talk to people in the organization there, they really feel like they have that same identity that the Warriors had in that 14-15 season of strength in numbers, a lot of depth. So they could show that they can absorb his absence long term.
I want people to start respecting them a little bit more. They have 10 losses. They're the best record in the NBA. If you don't start respecting them, Suns and 4 guy, I'll uppercut you to the face, Bill. Okay? What do you want?
Number 3, I have the Philadelphia 76ers. We're waiting to see James Harden in a Sixers uniform for the first time, but obviously that was the trade of the trade deadline between the Sixers and Nets. Embiid has been playing at an exceptionally high level all season. He finally gets a guard after not having Ben Simmons.
Pretty good one, too.
And so this completely elevates what we expect from the Sixers this year. They get out of the Ben Simmons quagmire, but it has to work on the floor. And so I'll be watching very closely to see what that looks like.
Wish they didn't give up Curry in that deal. It's the one piece that.
Yeah.
They didn't have to give up Maxey, which was
Don't forget Andre Drummond, too.
My guy. Go ahead. What do you got, Mark?
I got the Lakers as an intriguing team. Look, there's been a lot of things for us to digest and talk about, and there's a fascination of, okay, can they right the ship, make a playoff push? Can LeBron James sustain his strong level of play? Can Russell Westbrook be more consistent? Can the team be more consistent, more healthy? A lot of skepticism, but there is a window of those things.
You're intrigued by them, aren't you, Mark?
Yeah, it'll be interesting either way.
What do you got for 2?
Number 2, I have the Brooklyn Nets, who have been playing like number 2 lately, but they have completely revamped. They've completely overhauled the roster. Ben Simmons comes in, really interesting fit next to Kevin Durant. And Kyrie Irving, potentially going to be more than a part-time player. You saw some reports today about New York maybe easing their restrictions for unvaccinated players. The potential of getting actually their 3 best players all on the floor for a consistent run going into the postseason. They've been a hot mess, but like you said, but there is an opportunity for Brooklyn to be the team that we all kind of expected them to be.
What they're going to be is a problem for someone in the first round because what did they drop to? 7?
Right.
Problem. Go ahead.
Number 2, I got the Philadelphia 76ers.
Yeah.
Look, as Bill alluded to, they were able to make a deal with Ben Simmons. Daryl Morey was able to reunite with James Harden. And so I think on paper, because they knew Ben Simmons wasn't going to be playing this season, this is a net upgrade because they have an all-star caliber player who's now going to want to play his best version of basketball in James Harden. But there's also a lot of unknowns. What's the chemistry going to be like with Joel Embiid and James Harden? Can James Harden stay healthy after struggling with that this season? Will their lack of depth catch up to them?
Will the basketball gods give us Nets, Sixers in the playoffs?
Oh, absolutely.
I say
Without
yes.
a doubt.
Number 1, Bill.
To me, this isn't even a question. I'm surprised Mark had him so low. The most intriguing team in the NBA remains the Los Angeles Lakers. Not because of wins and losses and where they finish in the West, but because of all this stuff we're talking about. Is LeBron James happy in LA? Is he happy with Rob Pelinka? Will Russell Westbrook find a way to earn the opportunity to stay beyond this year? I mean, there is so much palace intrigue with the Lakers and the future of the franchise.
When and if will AD come back?
Sure. I mean, that is actually relatively low on my list of things that I find intriguing. But to me, there is no bigger soap opera in the NBA right now, and maybe always, but especially right now, than these Los Angeles Lakers.
Soap opera's a little, come on, Bill.
It's a soap opera.
It is?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Like daytime television?
And that is better than daytime television.
And that is just our PG term for what's going on right now.
You're basically calling it wrestling?
It could be a primetime soap, like Dallas, Would
Those
you
were
prefer
great shows.
I love Dallas.
Those were great
I know,
shows.
By the way, I
Bill.
know who shot JR. Because I
You
watched
weren't even
that
born
thing.
yet.
I have the DVD set.
Amazing.
I can loan you some.
Medina, what's your number one? I don't think anybody cares anymore because Bill really just. I'm just
look,
kidding. Go ahead.
I have
I'm
the
just
Brooklyn
kidding.
Nets. Look, I think to what Bill was saying, you can flip the combination of Lakers,
Can't
Sixers,
do that now.
Nets.
You're at the goal.
But I'm sticking with the Nets because there's just so much uncertainty and fascination with the fact that Kyrie Irving could be a full-time player because of the mandate possibly being waived. They get Ben Simmons, who now might become Ben Simmons again because he's a dynamic playmaker defender. He doesn't have the pressure having to shoot because they have this guy named Kevin Durant. But will he be healthy? Will Kyrie?
And to see those guys today and then be on stage with those guys, it is. You guys don't understand. You guys don't understand. I'm trying to make y'all understand as much as I can, but it's just crazy.
LeBron posted this on his IG, a photo of his banana boat crew. 3 of the 4 players from the famed 2003 NBA draft class. You got D. Wade, Carmelo, CP3. What a great photo there. LeBron also posted this over the weekend, a side-by-side of the first time he met MJ and at the 75th ceremony. That's cool. Listen, guys, LeBron and MJ are always going to be linked. It's always going to be debated who the GOAT is. And at the end of the day, that's a great photo, and it's a great moment for LeBron James. And interesting that he really hasn't had much time with him, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's
Maybe later.
It's an interesting part of his story that those two have never really connected and had the kind of relationship. You just assume that, you know, greatness finds greatness and that those moments sort of happen organically. You know, we heard that, you know, from Kobe, from MJ after Kobe passed, right? That they had kind of that rapport and that dialogue because Kobe reached out and was always kind of mining MJ for information. And there's been more of a, you know, the relationships is different with LeBron. But, you know, the cream rises to the top, right? And these are the two guys we talk about as the two greats of the game ever. And you know, that's probably a debate that's going to last long after LeBron hangs them up, you know, in 12 or 15 years, whenever that happens.
That debate is every single day. You see it on social media. It seems like Kareem gets left out, others get left out, and it comes down to those two. Is it overplayed, that debate, to you, or do you enjoy that debate?
Well, it's overplayed, but I also do enjoy it. I think sometimes it feels overplayed because with every accomplishment, instead of appreciating what that moment is, it then gets into the comparison resume. And then I also think that...
Is it okay to love them both?
Yeah, it's okay to love them both.
It is not.
That's what I mean. It's like,
Bill doesn't love them both.
I might. I just don't think that in the public discourse, in common discourse, it is allowed. You have to choose a side.
Yeah.
We are such a divided... Like everything is like, you know, this or that. There is no both.
And then I think the circumstances are different. You know, LeBron James played in the player movement era and the social media era, and he played for organizations that didn't have the same kind of continuity and symmetry that Michael Jordan had with the Bulls. But they're also different players. Like, I don't think this is a hot take at all or indisputable that Michael Jordan was and always will remain the better scorer, but LeBron James discovered at a much earlier age than MJ how to be the better passer, knowing how to trust his teammates more. So how does that kind of Venn diagram of differences coexist at the end of their career?
But we call this a debate. I feel like it's still pretty universally accepted that MJ is the greatest. Like any list is number 1 MJ and LeBron is number 2. Who are these people who are making it even a debate? We're debating something that is pretty clearly delineated, right? It's subjective. There's no clear answer.
You follow
but like,
Jerry Harrison from
we just have like kind of accepted as a society that Michael Jordan is the greatest, and LeBron is the only person who's gotten close to that. But like, you know, you're right. Like, there is an argument for Kareem, especially if you factor in.
Can't you just put them all 3 there and say,
sure? But again, no, you can't.
Okay.
Because we don't live in a world where you can just love all things. You can't just be like, I like. You can't like oatmeal raisin cookies, peanut butter cookies, and chocolate chip cookies.
By the way,
you have to have a favorite
what
cookie.
What is the goat out of those cookies?
By the way,
raisin.
what list had Kobe at 10 recently?
Ours did, the athletics list.
Don't
look at me, I didn't vote.
What a weird thing.
I had him at 7. Is that better?
Yeah, I don't know. Not having him top 5 to me is the strangest thing ever. But whatever. But 10, I was like, what?
Who are you bumping out of the top 5? You want him in the top 5?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you're talking about bumping out Kareem, Bill Russell, or Magic?
Bill Russell and Magic.
And Larry Bird.
Yeah. For Kobe? Yeah, Larry Bird.
We'll talk about this. We'll talk about this like commercial.
Yeah. Bill's out. Bill should be like 8 or 9. I mean, he had all the rings, but Bill playing wise wasn't. He's not in Kobe's league.
I mean, how do you
measure?
how do you measure any of this stuff? Like, how do those?
Because
rings,
I've watched them all play, William.
Because you're old enough to have watched Bill Russell.
Our in-studio Hall of Famer, by the way, was there. Okay, as well, sharing a moment with Shaq and Magic Johnson. And by the way, ask any players ever played. They all put Kobe in the top 5. A lot of Laker legends on hand. Shaq, Kareem, Jerry West, LeBron, Magic, Bob McAdoo, all alongside the King. How cool is that photo right there? Man, that's fun.
Love it.
That's good stuff. Are you guys ready for top plays from LeBron James at the All-Star game?
Let's do it.
I've been waiting.
I'm going to take number 5 because Ben, who did